This state was doing the best, I was governor. And when it's going to do better again, I'll be the governor.
Edwin, for business to vote for you, they'd have to hold their nose, close their eyes, and cover their ears. Business, you have been opposed.
And for them to vote to you, they'd have to get out from under the sheets. But nevertheless, they have to make that decision.
That's a cheap shot.
This state was doing the best, I was governor.
Okay, so hopefully you saw that. That was part of the debate between Edwards and David Duke. And David and Edwards launched into the fact that Duke had wore some sheets, I guess referring to the joke about the wizards between the sheets. So why don't you tell us now, since I played that, why don't you tell us about the experience that you had with David Duke and Edwin Edwards? And as you do that, I'm going to put up a picture. As you do that, I'm going to put up a picture that I think will be symbolic of that. Okay, so go ahead, tell us.
I'll be glad to, Stephen. By the way, the question that was submitted was by John Michael Lockhart, who was for years the publisher of the West Baton Rouge Journal, a newspaper across the river in Port Allen in Louisiana, and very knowledgeable in his own right about Louisiana politics. He's referring to the race from hell, Duke Edwards in 1971. I was running for insurance commissioner my first term at that particular time, so I was a close observer because you went to where the crowds were. Retail politics was much more prevalent in the 90s than it is today. Today, you raise money and just get on television and beat up on your opponent is what happens in politics, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Wish we could just turn the TV off altogether, quite frankly, and get back to the retail politics. Edwards and Duke would go to festivals and fairs and travel the state. They were often there together, and I was there because if there's a crowd, I was there to shake hands and try to get votes for me as insurance commissioner. Well, one night, my wife and I decided to take a break from all the political activity and drive over to Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, about 45 minutes drive from Baton Rouge to a place called Crawfish Town, USA, a huge restaurant that could probably seat, I would say, 800 or 900 people, and had the best crawfish in the area. So we took some friends. If I remember right, I think maybe football coach Mike Archer might have been with us back with LSU days. But we drove over to the Breaux Bridge about 3 weeks before the election. And I was feeling very confident that I was going to get elected as insurance commissioner. So we sat there eating crawfish. Big platters of crawfish came down. And just as we started eating, the door opens and Governor Edwards walks in. He'd been doing some campaign stops, and he saw us and made a beeline for our table, sat down and took over the discussion, had about 10 people there, mesmerized all the ladies, ordered him a big platter of crawfish, and we decided we was there telling stories. And, of course, everybody in the restaurant's looking because here's Edwin Edwards in the restaurant. Maybe 10 minutes later, the door opens up again, Steve, and in the restaurant walks David Duke. On the screen right now is a picture of me eating crawfish as Governor Edwards comes over to join us. So Duke comes over to the table, and the three of us are sitting there talking, and I'm looking around, and, of course, every eye in the restaurant is on us, mesmerized by these two giants that were in the runoff for governor of Louisiana. So both are very cordial. Edwin Edwards never was not a gentleman, and I found Duke to be very much of a gentleman when he was in a crowd or with people, other elected officials. So after a while, they all went their separate ways, Steve. Duke to his table, Edwards to his table, and then slowly people in the tables would get up and walk over to their candidates, many to Duke, many to Edwards. There were a line of maybe 30 or 40 people in line waiting to shake their hand and often to give them some money, $5, $10, maybe $100 in some instance, to support their campaign. And I'm saying, my God, this is surreal. I'm in the middle of all this as the two are raising money and carrying on. I said, this is just very unique in this country, all part of Louisiana politics. So they both then got up and went their separate ways, and we sat there and laughed about it for hours afterwards, eating our crawfish. But it was quite an event, quite a gathering of the Duke Edwards campaign. And of course, Edwards was so quick-witted. You mentioned the fact that he said that he too was a wizard under the sheets, was one of the comments he would often make. And then the bumper stickers, vote for the lizard, not the wizard. And vote for the crook. It's important. We've heard so many of those, so many things talking about Edwards and Duke together. And I know that I talked to Edwards and I says, are you raising money, Governor? Because, you know, in politics, it's all you can't have enough money, obviously, when you're running. And so he said, Jim, he says, it's unbelievable. I'm getting money not just from throughout the country. I'm getting money from all over the world. There's such a concern that David Duke might be elected governor of Louisiana. And by the way, I've never seen this happen before. It never happened in the history of the state. But for 5 straight days, the Times-Picayune, conservative publication, very much anti-Edwards for years, ran a front page editorial, not just on the editorial page, front page, Steve, for 5 consecutive days, saying why Louisiana had to endorse Edwin Edwards. Right. Republicans Mike Foster, Buddy Roemer, all supported Edwards, although they were of a different party. And so Edwards won handily against Duke, but it was quite a surreal event to be in the middle of all that. And I probably has a closer view of the two of them operating together of anybody else since I was running and since I was with them on many, many occasions.